Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the LAMC virtual edition. And I'm here with Mia Nygren, the Managing Director of Spotify for Latin America. Welcome, Mia.
Thank you so much. It's really great to be here with you.
And I'm Leila Cobo, VP of Latin for Billboard. And going back to Mia, Managing Director of Spotify for Latin America, which, if I'm not mistaken, Latin America is Spotify's fastest growing region in terms of users, right? Of streamers and subscribers. Am I correct, Mia?
Yeah, I mean, Latin America is definitely an important region for the company on the global scale. We've seen the latest reports coming out just last week from EFPI. I think it was the 12th consecutive year that Latin America is growing a lot and faster than any other region. So we're super happy to be part of that growth story. And when we look at our global numbers, we had a great last quarter. We have around now 406 million monthly active users, and 22% of them sit in Latin America. So of course, we represent a huge part of that global figure from this part of the world.
Wait. So let's repeat that for the sake of the viewers.
Yes.
So 22% of all Spotify
monthly active users, the
monthly
people that
active
engage
users?
with the platform on a monthly basis, they sit in Latin America. Yes.
They sit in Latin America. That's remarkable, is it not?
That's a good figure. Yeah, we're very happy with that. I mean, it's a story that I think all of us have contributed to very much over the past years. And I think we also have to remember that we've been here for a while. So we launched, Mexico is the first country to celebrate 9 years of operation. And then the rest of the Latin American countries, except for Brazil, is further or later on this year. And then Brazil is turning 9 next year. So, you know, we've been here for almost a decade, right? So, which is also very nice.
But Mia, going back to that number, I love numbers, as you can tell. So 22% sit in Latin America, and that doesn't even count the US Latin user. Correct. And the many users around the world who are consuming Latin music. So if you were to divide consumption by genre, and if we were to consider Latin a genre, which I know it is not, but let's consider a genre for the sake of comparison here, where would Latin fall compared to pop or R&B or hip hop?
So yeah, you're correct. When we talk about the 22%, they sit in Latin America. But of course, we know there's a huge amount of people listening to Latin music beyond Latin America and the region's border, of course. So that figure, when it comes to consumption, is even greater for Latin. As you said, we don't talk about genres, but consumption in the Spanish or Portuguese language, right? Mm-hmm. So we do look, of course, at genres and subgenres as well. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, we have 8 Latin or Latin subgenres among the 50 most consumed genres in the world as of last year, right? So I think that says quite a lot. And I'm talking about trap Latino, reggaeton, Latin pop, Latin hip hop, regional Mexican, and corridos. So these genres are very, very successful and among the top most streamed on the platform globally.
And Mia, what musical trends within Latin have surprised you in the past year? Not only
there has been a lot of things going on this year, and I think it's very interesting that we talk about it, because we do focus a lot on music trends and user consumption behaviors. And one thing that I really like is that when we look at the younger audiences, that again, by default, almost kind of defines what's going to happen next, is this fluidity where things and sound starts to mix. So I think the prime example is Mexico, where we see younger artists, very young artists with maybe an urban sound mixing into the more traditional regional Mexican sound. So that is, we have success cases that we're all aware of. That's very interesting. interesting. I also think it's very cool to see that in markets like Argentina, we have, as you know, examples on the top charts globally today coming from that corner of Latin America, and they're looking into the trap scene, but not only, we see a lot of consumption in cumbia 420 as well, which is very interesting. I love the new kind of local Chilean urban scene too. They were traditionally consuming more kind of non-Chilean artists, but now we see there's a very intense local movement around that, which is very, very cool to see. And of course, we have Brazil with its own characteristics, where a lot of music genres are being blended, and you can have sounds from the Northeast now being almost mainstream. So all these trends are very interesting, but I think the essence of it is the mix that's happening right now.
The essence is the mix. And it's interesting to me that you've mentioned urban, because I've been speaking with a number of people in the industry, and they seem to think that urban is not phasing out, but it's no longer this humongous dominant force that it was maybe 18 months ago. I hear a lot of people talking to me about the rise of artists who actually play instruments and sing, acoustically. Do you see that in your charts as well?
We do see that. Still, we have to acknowledge that the biggest consumption patterns, particularly among the 25 and below, is very much concentrated in the what we call the urban definition, right? So that is still there. We cannot neglect that. That said, there is this movement where you have this fluidity, and there's an interest on behalf of these consumers to go a little bit deeper and also a little bit wider. And I think our platform has allowed for that. We see what's going on. Not only are we generating more revenues for the artists, but we're also generating more opportunities for more artists and more sounds as well. And that's a little bit, of course, what we're here to do. So it's true, Leila. We see that, and it's very interesting. And of course, what we do is try to amplify this as much as we can, as long as there is response on behalf of the audience, right? And there is a response.
So how do you generate these opportunities for artists, as you call them? And I'm asking this for the benefit of the many emerging artists that I'm sure are watching this. So
yeah, no, that's true. That's a very good angle, actually, to talk about this here in this together with you. I think we all know, and you've heard this figure before, and it gives you vertigo, that we get approximately 60,000 songs onto the platform every day.
Every day, okay.
Every day.
Let that sink in. 60,000 songs a day.
A day. So there is how do you navigate that? Not only as, a distributor like us, but as a new and upcoming artist. It's tough, of course, but I think we have to think about the fact that there are more opportunities, and that you can upload directly to the platform is giving this opportunity to more artists that don't necessarily need to have maybe a major agreement behind them in order to reach global levels of streaming, right? There are a couple of very, very basic golden rules. And I know that this is a question that a lot of artists and managers have. It's like, how do I get the attention, and how do I actually put my songs out there, like in the most efficient way? And there are a couple of things that you always have to think about, and you always have to do. You have to pass by our new music pitching tool. This is something that we've had for many years, and it hasn't changed. It's very, very important that you upload your music timely. We need time in order to process this huge amount of songs that comes into the platform.
How much time?
We're talking about 2 to 3 weeks is ideal, right? Not more than that, but at least 2-3 weeks, because then we have to go through so many songs. And also in this tool, you can express with your own words what your music is about a bit. So it helps us also navigate like the different kind of sounds, genres, or maybe audiences that you think you have as an artist. So we look at that, then we read that. So it's very, very important that we get that on time, right?
And
so
we have your staff actually and I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think this is so important. So you actually have a kind of a battalion of people that they really do read these things. They really.
No, absolutely, 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 and it's a super important help for us. So we look at that very much. But then also, what we have to remember that yes, we have over 400 million monthly active users on the platform. We remember how many sit in Latin America, a huge amount of them, but they all have a very personalized experience. So the way that you see Spotify when you open the application on your phone is very different from what I see on mine, because we have the algorithms that's also helping. So just because we have certain kind of playlists that we work with on and off platform, meaning that we work them flagship, you can see marketing around them, etc. The big majority of the consumption is not happening there. So the playlist that we're all familiar with, we're talking about not more than 10% of consumption is coming from them. 90% of consumption on the platform is not happening on those playlists. So that's another kind of very important fact I think we have to remember, that we do not kind of control that in that sense at all. It's user-generated playlist. We have over 4 billion on the platform.
4 billion. Okay, well, it doesn't happen on the playlist. Okay, but wait, let's go back, because we were talking about the golden rule. So one golden rule was to use the upload tool. And what's the second golden rule?
Timing.
Oh, timing. So use the tool and do it with enough
and be on time. Yes, please.
Okay, so 2 to 3 weeks. And then beyond that, especially if I'm an emerging artist, or no, not even Mia, if I'm, because I'm sure that you have a very tiny percentage of artists that have, I don't know, 5 million and more listeners per month. And then the other 95% are artists that have less. So what can artists do to spur listenership?
That's a big question that I think goes beyond distribution and the platform itself. But we always try to encourage discovery, and I want to share a feature that we're piloting right now that can give you an idea where we're heading, because it's difficult for us to say what the artist needs to do, because one thing again is distribution, the other is how do you want to work your audiences and your fan groups, you know, if you're using social media, whatever you're using, right? But one thing that we're doing that I again want to mention here is that we're piloting something that we called featured curators. So we're actually going to start, we're looking at it right now, and it's launched, it's live, where we promote and we position user-generated playlist on the platform. We have a select amount of influencers and users that have shown very good programming skills. They have a lot of followers on their playlist, etc. So I think that is also a part of our story coming in to the future, that it's not only going to be about the Spotify owned and operated playlist, but we also see a huge amount of value in creator and influencer playlist offerings out there. So as an artist, it's not easy. I do understand that, but like, think about the platform. You have to understand how the platform works and what's coming next, but it's not the only place, right? So I think paying attention to those initiatives is very, very important.
But how, as an artist, there must be some actions that you find drive listenership. I wanted to ask you, for example, having actions on TikTok, on Instagram, on your YouTube channel. How are there any, like maybe 2 tips you can give to artists that you find that work?
There is always like a, how do you, se autoalimenta, you know what I mean? So that you can have artists that pop on a different social, you know, social media platform, and then it comes to Spotify. Sometimes they start here with us and they go to the other side. So where things start and where they end, it's very hard to say, and that depends on every artist, of course. But we do again pay a lot of attention to behavior and trends. We do not pay only attention to what we see, a hit is popping, but I want to serve, if there is a sound that is resonating in Mexico at this time, and we see that as a trend, we are going to try to amplify it. That's very, very important. So follow the trends, see how the users are consuming your music in each and every market. You cannot pretend that there's only one Spanish-speaking region and you serve them the same way, because the maturity levels that we have across the region is very different. So we have a very mature audience rather in the south, while in other parts we still have a lot of room for growth, and then we speak to the users in a different way. So it's hard to give a concrete this is what you have to do, but the trends you have to follow and understand what is actually happening right now with the music that I represent a genre. Maybe I don't, maybe I'm fluid. How do I collaborate? What do the audience look like today? How mature is the market right now for a certain platform like ours or others? They all work together. You cannot say that I only work this one. As we know, you cannot skip a step, actually. You have to be a little bit of an omnipresent kind of artist in order to reach the top.
Okay, so what does it take for your edit team to notice an artist? What peaks and valleys do you see? Because, and I reiterate, I think this is very hard when you have someone like Rosalia, who has a big marketing push behind her. She's put on all the big playlists. So she automatically comes to the gate with 1 million plays, right? Even if she does nothing more, she already has that advantage. So how does the little artist who's maybe getting 1,000 plays, which is a lot for them, get noticed? What do you guys look for? There's a little bit of the chicken or the egg, right? What you're describing here, what is it? Is it actually the fact that it's the distribution muscle that is driving success, or is it actually consumer demand that is driving the? Interesting, yes.
Right. That's what's the balance between those two, which is very interesting. And I think there is no. How can I put it? I don't think it's ever been a shortcut for anyone to become famous and become successful and have this consumer behind. That is because there is a true talent, there is a true demand, there is something very deep in that music or in that artist that makes people want more and more and more. But what I think is very interesting about Latin America in particular, or the Spanish-speaking part of the world, is that success can come from every corner, and the trends that we see on a global scale right now, there has never been so much pride in local culture and consumption.
I love that, right?
You know what I mean? So don't try to be something that you're not. Stay very true to your heritage and what you represent. And maybe you have to start small, even though your dream is big. But again, there's no shortcut. And I think having a very, very defined dream, it doesn't mean that you have to go all the way up to something. You can be successful in Buenos Aires on a global stage if you want, and vice versa. So that's what we have here today. And I think, be true to that.
And I also want to reiterate something you said earlier, that Spotify does have all these insights. So as an artist, you can go to your artist page and you can see what exactly is this one song doing, and you can see what cities it's playing in. And then you look at another song and it has different cities, right? So you kind of tailor all your moves for that.
Yes, exactly. You have a lot of information there. You can see, hey, I'm gaining traction over here right now. I need to do some kind of push. Maybe I need to go there and I have to, perform. I have to do an interview, or I have to do. So there's a lot of information, which is sometimes also the tough part. There's so much information and data out there. So you have to be a little bit savvy in that sense, to be able to interpret and analyze what the platforms are giving back to you, to say, how do I tailor a strategy for me and my career, and what do I want, right? But that's true.
That's true. And Mia, what do you think, especially during the pandemic, many artists were home, they weren't touring, they had a lot of time in their hands, and they went crazy, recording music and being creative. They're artists. What do you think of the trend of releasing so many singles? I feel like they're pulling back a little bit now. Do you and two-part question, and is it a good strategy to release a single every week?
So what happened during the pandemics, and this is something that this is a theory I have. This is not data driven, what I'm going to share now. But of course, as you said, there were more. I think that the artists probably skipped a step, what is normally happening when the world is not closed, right? Because during the pandemics, it was studio and then it was release. And there was a studio again, and then there was release. Normally there's studio work, and then you go out there, you tour, you promote, you interview, you work, and then you go back to the studio, right? And then you distribute. So I think that step that was kind of missing during the pandemics created this, enormous amount of content that came into the platform. And if that is good or bad, honestly, what can I say? With so much offering being out there and being, stressed about, attending your fans and giving them content all the time, must be, exhausting for any creator. completely exhausting. And to see, and I do agree with you. I think what we see right now, there's like, okay, there might be a change in that, because there's other time or other kind of requirements or opportunities that the artists have that is now back again, now that we can travel and we can meet our fans and we can play and we can do all that. So there seems to be exactly what you said, that the trend is going back to a work that is a little bit with a longer time frame and not so short.
Mia, beyond the actual streaming and the new programs like the influencer list, what other opportunities do you offer artists? I know you have a program for up-and-coming artists, for rising artists, and I know that in individual countries you do certain activations. So what other kinds of things can artists do with Spotify beyond simply being on Spotify and getting streamed?
Yeah, no, great. We have, we have lots of different programs, but I think the ones that are most known and you're familiar with, and that we put a lot of energy behind, is one that is completely about female talent, and we call it Equal. So we have a program under the umbrella brand Equal, which could be a playlist, but actually today it's a festival in Colombia where we only have female talent performing, which is really interesting. We turned our Equal playlist in Colombia into a festival where we have 13 female artists that are performing during the month of April, which is a kind of an evolution of how we can support female talent through a playlist brand on a global scale, but with a local adaptation. So we're doing that in Bogota, which is really cool to see. And we've had, a lot of great feedback there. So I think that is a thing that we work on. And I have to talk a little bit about this, because I think there's so much to do in the space with regards to female talent, and we're far from done. And we have to work on this really hard. And I can't live with the fact that, half the planet are women, but only like 1 in 5 on the top charts, and like less than 1 in 10 is a producer, and a composer is 1 in 8. That's not okay. So I think the Equal program for us is very important, and it's about actually doing something with it. So again, this example in Colombia, I think is great. We also have a program that's called Radar, where we surface new and upcoming talents. And we've had a lot of cool examples coming out of the region. We have Blessed in Colombia, Natipulus, we have Bosa. So there are things happening there. And I think that's something that that's our responsibility somehow, to help new and upcoming artists and surface them through a rather I don't want to say like a template, but we need to give them ways to work with us, and that is a program like Radar. That's a program like Equal, and it works. And I think that the industry is familiar with it and what we have been doing, and more to come. I like to find, I don't want to say franchises, but I want there to be programs that people can easily understand and connect with us and be part of. But these are the two most important ones.
What would surprise us to know about the Latin music listener?
Oh, well, the Latin music listener, what can I say? When I talk about the Latin music listener in global, like in global
Global
forums,
and LATAM.
yeah, I know, but like in general, not about the region, but there's something that we have here, which is very characteristic of the Latin music consumer. And it's what I call the consumption enthusiasm. You cannot export that. Everyone wants to know what happened with the Latin music phenomenon, what happened with that growth that exploded and still there. And I think there is something so deep in the cultural trait and behavior of the Latin user and the Latin population, or whatever we want to call it, that is, all related to this consumption enthusiasm. There is no one that can beat this part of the world in amount of music that is being consumed in an amount of different occasions that is also being listened to. And again, you can't export this, which is very, very cool. There's something that we have here that is, it's a superpower, of course.
It's a super, I love how you're saying different occasions. Give me an example.
You can have, we see like when people are consuming, it can be, weekend, it can be carnival, it can be World Cup in football, it can be, you see this, it's very kind of events driven. Then you have huge peaks where people like gather together and they consume together. And it's, there are volumes that are hard to beat, I think.
Give me the biggest peak. Now I'm super curious.
That I will have to come back to you with, because I don't know exactly.
Give me two big peaks.
Peaks are, like end of the year is an enormous peak, of course. I think that is kind of enough. When we talk about and like, we talk about like what has been consumed the most during the year. There's a lot of interest there where we have a program, we have a campaign, it's called Wrapped, and that works really well and people all want to share. So the superpower about consumption is huge. Sharing is very big. So the Latin American, the Latin user is always over indexing on any kind of sharing, which is also another superpower. I say this, the third superpower I think that we have here is the fact that there is a lot of consumption that is synchronized. So the muscle that we have here makes us capable of propelling talent to the very top of the global charts from every corner, meaning like you see there's a pattern of, music being consumed across the whole region. And that is also, kind of estimulando. It stimulates the whole ecosystem here. And I think, and I hope we all can agree that, production levels is really, really high. There's a lot of things coming into the market that gives all of us, a standard that we've never seen before.
So our superpowers: super consumption, super sharing, and what was the other one? And
synchronized consumption. So we have a huge muscle, but that's the world a little bit, Leila. You have Anglo music, of course, then you have Spanish speaking music, and then you have the rest of the world. That's how it goes.
I kind of love that. Okay. Well, Mia, thank you so much. Before I let you go, I have to ask you, what are the 3 songs that you most recently added to your must listen to playlist?
Oh, wow. It was probably some weird Swedish pop, but I think I couldn't be happier than Sunday when I woke up after a fantastic concert that I enjoyed with my kids. It was Bad Bunny, and anything that he's releasing is making us all smile and dance. So that's probably there somewhere. I also love everything that is sounding a little bit more towards pop. So I listen to a lot of kind of the electro R&B pop-ish side of things. So I have a lot of music in that genre that I love very, very much. And then, of course, I listen to a lot of Brazilian music, but I do that rather through Creme, which is a fantastic playlist that I invite you to listen to as well, which is a lot about alternative music, and it's very fluid. So that's also happening there. It's a wide variety of anything you can imagine.
Wonderful. Well, Mia Nygren, the Managing Director of Spotify Latin America, thank you so much for chatting with us here at LAMC.
Thank you so much.